Hello. Hello, everyone. My name is Reverend Alma Dunbar Savoy, and I am the host and creator of Abundant Living Everyday Legacy Series. And it's all about sharing amazing stories of ordinary men and women whom God has done some extraordinary things in our lives. And today is no less. We have such an exciting story to share with you at this time. You know, we're sharing stories of perseverance and overcoming and achieving. So God has just done some amazing things, and we're sharing stories to let you know that no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're facing, that you can live an abundant life every day. You can overcome. So, as I said at the outset, today is no less such a day. We have a fascinating story to share with you, and we're getting ready to jump right in and get started with it. I'm going to have my guests. First of all, thank you so much for sharing with us on Abundant Living Everyday Legacy Series. And just going to ask you to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and, where your upbringing, and just go ahead and get started.
Okay. Well, thank you, Reverend Savoy. My name is Torin Deon Savoy, and it is truly an honor and a pleasure to be with you today. My background, well, I'm the youngest child of Joseph and Alma Savoy. I was born in Oakland, California, but shortly after that, we moved back to the Washington, D.C. area where my dad was from. And then I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, and went to school here. After I graduated from high school, I went to Western Maryland and played basketball, college basketball at a junior college in Western Maryland. As I completed junior college in Western Maryland, the summer of 1987, when I was finishing junior college, I was working my summer job and traveling home one afternoon from my summer job, and I was involved in a car accident where I hit an 18-wheeler tractor trailer, suffered some injuries, some severe injuries to my knee, and just pain throughout my body. So did 2 months of physical therapy, thought basketball was all over, didn't expect to play basketball, but that November did get a call from a Division II school in Pittsburgh offering me a scholarship to play basketball. Went to Pittsburgh, played out that semester. Unfortunately, things didn't work out the way I expected it to. But as I finished that semester, came home, was able to land a job at the American Institute of Architects, where I worked there for a while, and then also enrolled at Howard University as an engineering student. Did 1 year at Howard University. I'm really thankful for that opportunity, but did 1 year at Howard University while being a full-time student as well as working full-time. I grew frustrated with my position at the American Institute of Architects. In January of 1992, I moved back to California, but this time I moved to Southern California. So moved to North Hollywood, and then eventually moved down to Santa Ana, California. Landed a position, full-time position at a Kids Foot Locker store. Managed, after 1 year of working at a Kids Foot Locker store, became a store manager. Managed a couple of different stores in Southern California. Got transferred back home to the Prince George's Maryland, Prince George's County, Maryland. After I came home a second time, got married, and had two wonderful children, two wonderful sons, and have been married for the last 22 years now.
Oh, wow, with such a diverse background there. And, all of the transitions that you talked about, and, the accident, and living in one area and moving to another area. Talk a little bit about how that has influenced who you are today.
Yeah, I think it's had a major influence on me because growing up in one area,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the culture, or assuming that understand the culture of this particular area,
Right.
leaving where I grew up, going to Western Maryland, where um, there's there was more uh, it's not as diverse as here,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
going to Western Maryland, new culture, new climate, new university, new school, understanding how to deal with people in that fashion, how to deal with people there, leaving
Mm-hmm.
there, going to Pittsburgh, and just being able to have to deal with different people in different areas, and then also moving to California. It was just
Mm-hmm.
really impactful because I think it allowed me to be able to have conversations with different people,
Mm-hmm.
or at least start conversations, have conversations with different individuals from different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So as you talk about, one experience there, rewarding experience there, can you think of other rewarding experiences that that all of that has had on you and who you are today?
Yeah, so I could think of a couple that through sports, those
Mm-hmm.
experiences, just being able to learn a lot through athletics, learn a lot through playing sports and things like that, that has had a huge impact of
Mm-hmm.
how I approach things.
Mm-hmm.
Moving to California gave me a lot of courage to be able to do a lot of things because it was just really me being frustrated with a position that I got passed over for, being frustrated and just saying I wanted to move. And so that
Mm-hmm.
gave me a lot of courage that I didn't think I had before. And then
Mm-hmm.
just having the courage to be able to stay out there. So those experiences have really driven me to accomplish some of the things that I've been able to accomplish in life so far.
Mm-hmm. So as we talk about some rewarding things, experiences, can you share a little bit about some negative experiences that you might have encountered? I know you talked about earlier on, you talked about a severe accident that you
Yes.
had, but are there other negative experiences that you could share with us?
Yeah, I think when you first move away from your comfort zone and you move to, I'll use California as an example. So when I moved from my comfort zone from here, my parents' house, moving to California, there's a lot of uncertainty there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of things that you have to go through. And then when you're on your own and not being able to afford some of the things that you're used to having, you have to make
Mm-hmm.
adjustments. You have to look at life differently. I think the entire time I lived out in California, I don't think I bought furniture until the last year I was there. Didn't have a television until the last year I was there when I was on my way home. So those moments and those times when you're there by yourself, and it's just solitude. The only thing you have is just really reflecting on what how you grew up and some of the things that you've experienced and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And although a lot of people can look at that as a negative experience, when you reflect on it, it turns out to be a positive experience because I don't think we go through things just by happenstance. I believe that things happen the way they happen because they could happen no other way. And I think God really puts us in situations to get us closer to what his purpose for our life is.
So as you share, and one of the purposes of abundant living every day, the legacy series, and as we're sharing these stories, what can you share to someone that might be, on that verge of uncertain whether I should, make this move or whether I should, just kind of stay in my comfort zone? What would you share to someone uh, that's in that position?
Yeah, I think when you there's an opportunity to kind of stay in your comfort zone, but growth is outside of the comfort zone. Um,
Mm-hmm.
God really wants us to stretch.
Yeah.
God really wants us to grow. God really wants us to be able to expand who we are. But you're only going to be able to do that outside of your comfort zone. Because when you're in
Mm-hmm.
your comfort zone, you're used to everything that's coming. And so sometimes when you're there,
Right.
you don't always see certain things. And just like even in learning, if I read the same book over and over again, I don't
Right.
learn much. But as long
Yes.
as I read different books and understand that, there's a biography or autobiography
Right.
or there's a story out here, that expands
Right.
my knowledge, that expands my growth. And I think, to tell somebody, you know, don't always stay in your comfort zone because comfort zones, to some degree, they stifle your growth. And so
Mm-hmm.
you want to be able to grow, you want to be able to expand who you are because God wants to see you as he calls you. He wants to see you in full abundance. He wants to see you, full. Sometimes it's to be able to share your story, but if you don't come out of your comfort zone and don't have stories to share, it's difficult to encourage other people. And so I think God puts us through these experiences outside of our comfort zone to encourage other people. So that was a really great question.
So, as we talk about God, talk about the role faith
Hmm.
has to play in, uh, you know, uh, decision making, moving, even, staying. And
Right.
so, talk
Right.
about the role of faith in those areas.
Yeah, I think faith plays a huge part because I think when I look back over my life, if I didn't have faith that God would take care of me or watch over me, I would not have
Mm-hmm.
taken the opportunity to go to Pittsburgh
Mm-hmm.
and try out at the Division
Mm-hmm.
two school that I played for, even after the accident.
Mm-hmm.
You have an accident, you're still
Right.
suffering. I did 2 months of physical therapy, but it was one of those situations where well, let's try it. Let me just try it. Let me just see what
Mm-hmm.
happens. At least that way, if I see what happens, I'll know. And then
Correct.
even when I
Yeah.
look at faith and moving out to, California, I was at a position that I really thought that I had some opportunities for growth. I was an engineering student working at the American Institute of Architects. I thought that was going to be a really good opportunity, and then
Mm-hmm.
you encounter certain. For me, it was frustration, but it was, I'm sure people encounter certain things all the time where you get passed over for a position. You might
Right.
be qualified, but you still get passed over for a position.
Mm-hmm.
My ego didn't want me to train the person who was coming in to replace me.
Right.
So, what was the next best thing? To move away or just see somewhere else. And I think that
Right.
faith had a huge part in that because, if I didn't have faith that God would watch over my steps as I was in
Right.
California, I would
Right.
not have taken that opportunity or not taken that chance.
Right.
And then to stay out there for 6.5 years,
Right.
it was just really God watched over me the entire time. So,
Mm-hmm.
faith had a huge, huge role in
Mm-hmm.
how I approach things going forward. But, when I look back on how I did things and what I've experienced, faith had a
Mm-hmm.
huge impact in that as well.
Mm-hmm. Are there other tools as well that helped you along the way?
Yeah, there's a lot of solitude when I lived in California. So,
Okay.
I didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
television.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take that back. I did have a television, but the picture tube was broken, so the only thing I could hear was sound.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't watch anything visually. I could only hear things. And so during those moments, I really wanted to understand the Bible. I really read the Bible. I think the
Mm-hmm.
experiences and interactions with people out there
Mm-hmm.
was a huge impact because I did see a lot of positive experiences. I did experience a lot of positive things while I was out there, but just interacting with people and getting
Mm-hmm.
inspired by people who you interact with. When you're in retail and things like that, you come across a lot of different individuals and you
Mm-hmm.
hear a lot of different stories. And so,
Right.
when you share your story with people,
Right.
they
Right.
share encouragement back to you. And so,
Right.
you express to people, I'm not from here, I'm from somewhere else and just
Mm-hmm.
trying to live and make it out here. And they'll encourage you. So, like the tool of encouragement from others, I think God allowed that to happen because, if I would have just tried to stay in solitude, I would not have, I don't know what would have happened. But
Mm-hmm.
because of their encouragement allowed me to read the New Testament. I studied a little bit more because, like I said, I didn't have a lot of entertainment at home.
Right.
So I studied more and then just really looking at the examples of just positive individuals in the community. Lived in Long
Mm-hmm.
Beach. And so just really looking at some positive individuals in the
Mm-hmm.
community, in all of the communities that I lived in, was just really encouraging, which is, I would say, was a tool for me as well.
Mm-hmm. As you talk about sharing your story, particularly, that's what abundant living is all about. In terms of, we truly feel as well that there are so many benefits in sharing, your story and your experience with others. So thank you so much for bringing that out. Let's kind of move forward to some of your roles that you have today, and talk about, you know, what motivates you in those roles today.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I grew up in the excuse me, I grew up in the church, and
Mm-hmm.
so like currently right now the examples that I've seen as a child is service,
Mm-hmm.
serving others, and so I currently have a role in the church as a trustee. I currently have a role in the church as a deacon. I
Mm-hmm.
currently have a role as a father,
Mm-hmm.
but and a husband, but you know the act of service and the examples of service that I've seen growing up really motivates me to continue to work and do things in the church as well as outside of the church, just
Mm-hmm.
for the simple fact that because of those examples, I've seen examples and have always seen examples of people serving, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's a huge motivation for me. That's a huge driver for me, is an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to serve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What have been some of the most significant moments of your life?
Wow. Significant moments.
Mm-hmm.
One significant moment or impactful moment was, I think, the birth of my first son. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he was 2 months premature, and so going through that situation,
Mm-hmm.
that had a huge impact on who I am and how I look at things,
Mm-hmm.
and why I believe some of the things that I believe is just really, just how we came through that, and we couldn't
Mm-hmm.
come through that without God watching over us, and
Mm-hmm.
that was significant. That was
Mm-hmm.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think another significant moment was also probably the passing of my father. When he
Mm-hmm.
passed, we didn't always interact as well as sometimes we could have
Mm-hmm.
when we were younger, and I think
Mm-hmm.
having an opportunity to kind of sit with him before that happened, before he transitioned, sit with him and
Mm-hmm.
kind of ask him some questions and spend some
Mm-hmm.
time with him, go fishing with him and things like that. That's been
Mm-hmm.
significant for me as
Mm-hmm.
well. And then the third thing I would say is just my family, the closeness
Mm-hmm.
of my family.
Mm-hmm.
um, we're a small group,
Mm-hmm.
but we're
Mm-hmm.
powerful, we're mighty. So,
Mm-hmm.
we do a lot of things together, and we always try to see each other on a regular basis. And so I think that's also a significant
Mm-hmm.
aspect of my life as well.
Mm-hmm. So I was going to ask you, would those things fall in the category of some of the worst moments, times in your life? And it doesn't sound like that they would, but I
No.
was going to ask you, maybe could you share some of the worst times of your life?
Yeah, I think at a young age, I'll go back to the car accident. That was the worst time because it was
Okay.
uncertainty. I mean,
Okay.
I think most kids, when they grow up and they play sports, and you play sports for a long period of time. I started playing
Right.
basketball in boys club. Started off with baseball, and then I gravitated towards basketball. I grew
Mm-hmm.
5 inches or 4 inches my
Mm-hmm.
senior year to be 6'5", and so you wanted to
Uh,
try to continue to play. And when you get into a car accident, you don't know what's really going on.
okay.
Most kids, when they grow up, they have dreams at some point. You have
Mm-hmm.
a dream of making or playing Division I basketball. Or you have a
Right.
dream of playing beyond that into the pros
Sure.
and things like
Yeah.
that. And I think,
Yeah.
when I encountered when I was involved in the car accident,
Mm-hmm.
that was that was a I would probably say, as a young age, that was a low moment because you just
Okay.
didn't know. I didn't get the
Right.
call to go, didn't know if I was ever going to play basketball ever again. And so
Right.
I didn't get the call to play basketball until November. The season,
Right.
the first semester
Mhm.
had already started. I'm
Mhm.
rehabbing and everything like
Mhm.
that. And so I think
Mhm.
the moments, or the moment of the accident and time before the call, there was a lot of
Mhm.
uncertainty. I didn't know what to
Okay.
do, didn't understand what was going on.
Right.
Everybody goes through that woe is me. Why? I promised.
Right.
I was blessed to be on a state championship team, and you see all your friends go to these schools and sign these letters of intent to these bigger schools, and that's your dream, and then
Right.
that dream shatters
Right.
to some degree.
Right. Right.
Um, but
Mhm.
I think that was a low moment. I think
Mhm.
the second low moment was, when I was kind of alone and by myself, in a foreign place, California,
Yeah.
not knowing what was going on. There was a period of time, the first 45 days or so, I didn't have a job. And so, I walked, before I moved to Santa Ana, California, I would walk around. I hung out at a park at Lankershim Boulevard all day because I didn't have anything else to do.
Right.
It was a pizza parlor on the street. And I can't remember his name, but the guy who worked at the pizza parlor, he saw me every afternoon. And so you know how much I knew how much I needed to get something to eat. So I knew I needed $10 to get a pizza. And so, I tried to save up my money and all that kind of stuff. But I was wandering. I mean, I walked all over North Hollywood for a while because I didn't have any direction. I didn't know what was going on. And you sit at a park at 10 o'clock in the afternoon or 10 o'clock at night, not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of uncertainty there. So that was a low moment as well.
Right.
And I think, just those are probably my two lowest moments.
Okay.
Because it was just uncertainty with both. And you just don't know what is going to happen. You don't know what is in store. You have no clue of what you're going to do or how things are going to shape up. But again, to your point before about faith, I think at the end of the day, I've had faith that certain things was going to happen. And I think, understanding that or putting things in God's hands at that moment, I think I did that without doing it. I did that without really knowing that I was doing it because I just didn't know what else to do. I didn't know anybody else to lean on. So, I think those were my two lowest moments.
Okay, so that's a good segue into the next question that I was going to ask you, which is, what are some of the lessons that you learned from those times?
Yeah, I think one major lesson is, before anything, is just one, understanding, have faith. We don't always understand God's plan. We don't always understand where God wants us to be and why he wants us to be where he wants us to be, but understand there's a plan. You're not walking through this life or walking through this thing without or just by happenstance. There's a plan. And so that's one thing, is just really understanding that there's a plan. Two, having the faith to really continue to march on, even though you may not understand, you may not go. Tomorrow's another day. And you have to make it through tomorrow. And one of the big things that I've learned, I had friends when I was in California, one of the things that I really picked up from them, because they were in the military. So one of the things that I remember, John, who was the best man of my wedding, one of the things he used to always say is, your easiest day was yesterday, which means, today is not, the easy day was yesterday. Today may be hard, but tomorrow, the easy day was yesterday because you still got to go through.
That's
and
good.
One of the things that I picked up from my cousin, who was also in the military, is that's too easy. Even though it may be challenging, even though it may be tough, but if you tell yourself it's easy, then it doesn't seem as daunting as your mind would let you think it is. You can overcome.
What would you share? What advice would you share with a young father person who might be transitioning or in this state of uncertainty? What advice would you share with them?
I would say, and I would share with them, what you have in front of you, or whatever the obstacles that you have in front of you, the resources are inside of you. Everything that you have to overcome, things that you have to overcome. You want to move somewhere, you want to go somewhere, you want a new job, the resources are inside. Just understand that you can overcome a number of different things when you believe that you can overcome a number of different things. Fatherhood, no different. Nobody has the game plan for fatherhood. I mean, people's parents and people's fathers, and as a father, I don't have the blueprint. You just live every day the best you can, and you try to leave those examples. And so that's what you really want to do, is live your life. You can overcome a number of different things. Don't ever think that anything is too insurmountable. You can't overcome it. And then two, even though you sit back and things look tough and troubling and all of that, just know you have to design your life. Nobody has the right answer. There's a lot of good examples, but everybody lives differently. I mean,
Yeah,
my experiences are going to be different than my son's experiences.
surely.
They're going to have to
Mm-hmm.
go through different things. I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
you just have to, based on the examples, and there's a number of examples out here, look at the
Mm-hmm.
positive examples and try to
Mm-hmm.
understand where you want to go,
Mm-hmm.
and know where you want to go, and then work backwards. If you know you want to be a really positive father or really impactful father, who are the impactful fathers? Not necessarily that, you may not have seen impactful fathers, but who are some that you can observe? Who are some that you can look at? And what do they do? They have conversations with their sons or their children. They participate. I think one of the things that I always tried to do was, my sons played sports like I did growing up, and I tried to always be there and participate. Whenever they
Mm-hmm.
looked in the stands, I was always trying to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Now wasn't always pleasant, but you participate. And so
Right.
look at the examples that other fathers who you admire, look at
Mm-hmm.
their examples and pick up some
Mm-hmm.
of those positive traits.
Mm-hmm. The philosopher William James once said that the great use of life is suspended for something that will outlast us.
Mhm.
What do you feel from your life will outlast you?
I would probably say some of the examples that I've tried to instill in not necessarily just my sons or my family, but people that
Mm-hmm.
I come encounter with, people on my
Mm-hmm.
job or people in church or people that I encounter on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Just positive role model. I would like to consider myself to be a positive role model. I like to consider myself to be a positive influence.
Okay.
Wise counsel. When people come to me and ask me questions, I try to provide
Mm-hmm.
wise counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Mm-hmm.
then, I try to allow them to see the positive sides of life. Not always, you can't always do that, I should say, but
Right.
there's always a positive outcome. Yeah, you may be struggling now. Yeah, things may be worse now, but it gets better.
Yeah.
Your easy day was yesterday, so it gets better.
Yes.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that I would like to leave.
Okay. All right. So we talked about a lot about your roles and different. What What do you do? Self care. Kind of
hmm
what do you do to kind of take the edge off things or relax or um.
I mean, I have a hobby. I think it's a hobby. It's a really expensive hobby, but I try to be not as active as I once was, but still
Mm-hmm.
active in some regards with golf.
Mm-hmm.
Um, pick up golf. Golf is more of a mental game than a physical game, but I think the strategy of golf, the competition with you against
Mm-hmm.
you in golf
Mm-hmm.
is something I do.
Mm-hmm.
I still try to read as much as I can or try to learn as much as I can. That takes
Mm-hmm.
the edge off a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, and I'm a huge music fan of all music,
Mm-hmm.
gospel, R&B, country. I mean, I'll listen
Mm-hmm.
to anything and everything as long as it has a positive message. So I think
Mm-hmm.
those are the three things that takes the edge off for me, and then spending time with my family.
Okay.
Four things that takes the edge off is spending time with your family or my family,
Okay.
playing golf,
Okay.
listening to music, and reading.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I don't know if we touched on this a little bit, but what's the most important thing that people should know about you?
The most important thing is that I am. Wow, that's a really good question. I think the most important thing is just really knowing that I try to be who I need to be for each individual. Meaning, if you come to me with why, you have a problem, you have a question, I try to be a wise counsel. You need
Okay.
me to try to be supportive, I try to be supportive. I think one of the goals that I have is being a 3 a.m. friend. Meaning, you try to be somebody who somebody can call at 3 a.m.
Okay.
and not to, not answer the phone, but to be a friend or a
Mm-hmm.
person who is reliable. Not always
Mm-hmm.
true. I'm still a work in progress, but try to be a reliable friend,
Mm-hmm.
and a person, and I'm working towards trying to be a 3 a.m. friend. I
Okay.
think that's what people should know about me, or what I would like for them to know about me.
Okay. So we do want to thank you for sharing your story. What impact do you think your story will have on people?
Yeah, I hope it's a story that's encouraging to others who may go through certain things when they have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty. Lord knows I've been through some challenges. I've seen some rewards as a result of that as well.
Okay.
Even when you move to California, you don't know. There's a lot of things that came out of that, some positive experiences, being invited, or, I worked a number of different jobs when I was out there. I worked as security guard. I worked in retail and things like that. I met a lot of good people who could put me in situations. And so I think, those are the things that, I think I would rest there. I mean, you encounter things, you go through things, but the lowest point you got to remember is the valley. So you got to come up out of the valley at some point. And so I think by hearing my story, and what I would like for people to gain from my story is that there are low moments, but there are high moments as well. There may be more low moments, but there are also a number of high moments that you can always look at as you continue to climb up. So you're not always in the low valley. Sometimes you come to the peak and you can see the sunrise.
So that's the what. Any comments about the who? Who do you think your story is going to have the greatest impact on?
I would like to think that it has a impact really on anyone who may be encountering struggle, or maybe experiencing struggle, or male, female, doesn't matter, but anyone encountering struggle. If you're encountering a struggle, trust me, I'm a prime example that even though you go through a struggle, you can come out of it. And there's a lot of positive things when you come out of it. And there's a lot of growth that's coming out of it too. So
such good advice. So last question, what would you like for your legacy to be?
I would like to leave a legacy of hope. I would like to leave a legacy of encouragement. I would like to leave a legacy of determination. I would like to leave a legacy of, steadfastness, just really being able to teach whoever I come in contact with, but primarily my sons, that you're capable and that you can overcome and you can endure. You're built for this, as we used to say when they were younger. You're Savoy built. So you can handle a number of different things. You just have to show other people how they can handle it.
Such good advice, such amazing advice, everyone. Well, there you have it, everyone. The fascinating story of Torin Deon Savoy, sharing with us his story on Abundant Living Everyday Legacy Series. And Torin, I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to share your story on Abundant Living Every Day, where we're sharing stories of people like you, regular people whom God has done some amazing things in their lives, sharing such good advice that you can come up out of the valley, as you're saying, that you have it in you. So thank you so much for sharing your story, telling our stories to each and every one, each and every day. So there you have it, everyone. As the curtain falls on today's story, the next fascinating legacy story, remember there's a story in each and every one of us just waiting to be shared. You never know who your story is going to encourage and help. So please reach out if you can share your story, like to share your story, as we've heard, and as we heard this session on Abundant Living Everyday Legacy Series. Reach out to, just email abundantliving@gmail.com and say, I'd like to share my story on Abundant Living Every Day. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this story, and goodbye, and God bless you.